Hi, I'm Paul from Seametrics, and today we're going to be installing a WMP meter in a system with camlock fittings. So when you get your WMP meter, it will come with an instruction manual, some clamps, a couple of gaskets, and a couple of fittings. So the fittings allow the WMP meter with this sanitary style fitting to be made into a threaded meter. So when you open up your meter, you'll notice that it's already on. The meter is always on, and you cannot reset the zero for regulatory reasons. So in your manual, there's an installation section, and it will tell you that you need to have 2 pipe diameters upstream and 1 pipe diameter downstream, so the flow profile is nice and even across the meter. So in a 2-inch meter, 2 pipe diameters is only 4 inches, 4-inch fitting. I would probably prefer to go with a 6-inch fitting or piece of pipe, just because it's not that long, and now you're going to have a little bit better flow profile. More straight pipe is always better. You're probably going to be installing in a hose if you've got a camlock fitting, so now you've basically got a lot of straight pipe, which is fine. If you increase or decrease your pipe size, your hose size coming into the meter, you need to have more straight pipe. It's all laid out in the manual. So we've got our fitting here, or our piece of pipe here, and we will take our Teflon tape. Now, I'm using Teflon tape, but you could use any kind of thread sealant. That is perfectly fine. And honestly, if you don't mind leaks, you probably could get away without it, but you will have some leaks if you do that. Okay, so thread sealant on one side, thread sealant on the other. Now, downstream you don't need as much straight pipe. I will go with the same pipe on both sides. But you don't have to. You could use a shorter piece of pipe. Then again, if your cam locks on your hose are, say, both male or both female, then if you have longer piece of pipe, you don't have to worry about which end goes where on your when you put it all together. So adapter onto my piece of pipe, male cam lock on my piece of pipe. Yeah, screwed that up. We will take pipe wrench here and a channel lock, and we will tighten this up. So I don't think I'm going to go too terribly hog wild with this. Make sure that you tighten it up so that it doesn't leak, and that sounds kind of course I'm not going to not tighten it so it doesn't leak. I have seen many people put pipes in that they didn't tighten up far enough, and they did leak, and then they have to take the system down, and that's kind of a pain. So my other cam lock here, adapter, pipe wrench, tighten up my fitting, tighten up my other fitting, so if that's good and tight, these down. Now, there is a flow direction arrow on your meter. This one is facing this way, which would mean that make sure that your hose is set up for the right direction. What you do not want to end up with is female trying to fit into female, or male trying to fin to male. So if this was my supply hose, this is the way I'd want it to be coming. So this would be in my arrow facing this way. I'll set this down, set this here, clamp. This is a 5/16 hex driver. A lot of people would probably use a power driver for this. That's fine. Just don't strip your clamp. It's a lot like a hose clamp. And if you're not careful, you can tear it up a little bit. So make sure that the gasket is properly seated. I like to have the threaded part on top of the meter, or somewhere above the bottom of the meter, because the meter is probably going to be sitting somewhere like this when it's in operation. If the fitting's on the bottom, it's going to get all dirty and muddy. It may be a little difficult to operate that clamp later on if you needed to. The other fitting, my gasket properly in there. Tighten up my clamp. Nice and snug. Again, it's going to leak if you're not careful. And now I can hook my hose into my meter, clamp down my cam locks, and I'm set. So that is installing a WMP meter into a piping system with cam locks on it. Now, the body of the meter is plastic, so of course it's not as tough as an aluminum or a steel meter, so be a little bit careful with it. It's pretty tough, but I wouldn't be dropping it from 6 feet onto concrete if you can at all help it, that sort of thing. Don't freeze it with water in it, it will break the liner. Do not submerge it. It can sit out in the rain, that's fine. I would leave the lid as closed as possible on it if it is in the rain. It can sit next to a river, next to a pond, but if you submerge it, it's likely that at some point it's probably going to leak. And once you get any moisture inside the electronics, it's going to kill the meter. So you think of the meter as a, what would you do to your laptop? If you wouldn't do something to your laptop, I wouldn't do it to the meter. So, should be operational like that. Now, let's say this meter has been out in the world for a year, or even 6 months for that matter. If it says low bat on the display, it will be the battery is getting low on it. And I believe in the manual it has a note about that, but I'm not seeing it right at this moment. So if the says low battery, the battery is low. The batteries only last for, let's say, a year, and then they need to be changed anyway. So we ship these with a lithium AA 1.5 volt battery. The Energizer Ultimate is kind of the standard lithium AA battery, so I'd probably go with that. Now, we used to ship them with alkaline batteries. Alkaline batteries, when they get low, the meter doesn't shut off and keep you from starting it back up. So the batteries, when they get low, they can outgas when they get super low, and the outgassing will kill the electronics. Lithium batteries won't do that, which is another great advantage. If you do use alkaline, make sure that you use a no less than a Duracell battery. If you use a cut rate battery, they will run down and outgas much sooner, and the likelihood of damaging your meter is pretty darn high. So if your meter needs battery change, and I would do this once a year, even if it doesn't say low battery. If you're running it all the time, it could need to be changed in 6 months or so. If the meter has water in it, it will be operating at full power. So whether you're running water or not, if the meter's full, it's going to be running the battery down at the maximum rate. So anyway, you could leave this cover on to change battery or take it off. Very easy to take it off. You just get up like that, take the thing off. This is a 5/32 hex wrench, Allen wrench. Take these loose, all 4 of them. They're commonly a little bit tighter than this. I must have had this one open at some point. Take these little wire bales off. And commonly this will be stuck down. This gasket is really tight. So come in on the corner of the meter on the outside of the screw hole. On the outside of the screw hole, so if we damage the gasket, it's out in the non-critical area. Just slide it, your screwdriver, in between the 2 housings. Just kind of work it up and it'll pop open. Once it pops open, it'll just come loose, no problem. A lot of people think these aren't changeable because they'll take the screws off and this just can't come off. The other thing, we've had people take something like a hammer or wrench and whack it to get the housing off, and they'll break the housing. Screwdriver on the outside, out in the corner, is the thing to do. So, open up your meter, lift open the battery compartment, and here are your 6 batteries. So we'll take these 3 out, take these 3 out. Put these 6 back in, and they go in just like any battery device would. Be sure that you use the 1.5 volt battery. I know that may sound a little odd to say, but lithium batteries, the shape is not indicative of the size. So you can have lithium batteries that look like they're AA's and they may not be, and they may be a higher voltage battery. That would be something you'd find at like a Batteries Plus or something like that. If you just go down to a local store and you buy batteries, they're going to be the AA 1.5 volt battery. So stick all these batteries back in. Once you plug the battery in, it will display all characters on the display screen. Then it'll count down from 9 down to 0, and it will then give you the version number of the firmware, 3.3. You don't need to know that. It's just normal startup. It takes a while. Now it says the total that was displayed on there and empty pipe, EP, empty pipe. It's going to show you the last thing that it knew before you powered it down. So if it was running flow at 40 gallons a minute, it's going to say 40. Or if it was at 0 but full, it's going to say 0. If it happened to be running negative for some reason, like the water's running back down the hose, it'll have brackets and with a minus sign in the middle, which means it's just running backwards. The meter isn't registering the flow, but it's just simply telling you that it's running backwards. So give it maybe 5-10 seconds and it will be completely booted up, and then it should start showing flow if you're running flow. Okay, so battery cover back on. The desiccant pack's kind of in my way. Cover back on. Make sure all these wires are outside of the gasket area. If your gasket's torn up, we can replace that for you, get a new gasket. I like to, if I can, just check and make sure that my wires are outside of the gasket area. Take my little wire bails, put them back on, and the bend goes to the outside so the lid can grab the wire again. Okay, start my screws, get them snug. Now, in the factory we have a little fitting that holds this bail so it's exactly in the right place. If you just start cranking on this screw, it's going to bend this bail, so kind of put your finger in there and make sure that it's kind of in place. Also, reach around the outside of the meter and feel that gasket, and when it gets snug and it starts to compress, you can feel the gasket squeeze out the side a little bit, and that means it's good and snug. So opposite side here, same thing. I'm going to hold the bail and I'm going to feel the gasket, make sure it's nice and snug. So this one's going to want to pull in. You can either let it deform just a little bit as you feel the gasket expand there, and you can give it a little tweak out to make sure that it's in the right spot, or you can hold it in place while you tighten this up. Then make sure that the wire bails are in nice and parallel with the meter. Put the lid back on if you took it off, and this just hooks over the bail on one side. The little support goes under the bail in the middle, and then just hook it over the bail on the other side, and it should snap in place. And that is changing the batteries on a WMP. So any questions, let us know. The manual is also available on our website, Seametrics.com. If you have any questions, give us a call, give me a call, and we can fix you up. All right, well, thank you.